Hey guys, welcome to my Joker full analysis and review. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here, so we're just gonna jump right in. Timestamps are on the screen and in the description as always for those that want to skip around. We're gonna start by talking about his normal combos and his Forcestrike since he has unique animations. His normal combo goes up to C6 and here are the mods. They do a little bit more damage compared to the regular dagger. SP gain wise, I did compare them to normal daggers before the mods even came out, but they ended up being similar just as I thought. Joker will gain SP faster than a regular dagger, and partially because he has his 7% attack speed Coability, as you can see from the gameplay. Focus on their weapon skill or skill 3 to see the difference. Now if you put Joker as a backline for the regular dagger, then you can see that the SP gain for both are similar. Joker does come out ahead by a split second, and that's because he gains a little bit more SP from his C6 combo. Additionally, the frames in between his C6 attack and the start of his next C1 is also less than regular dagger C5 to C1. Another notable difference between two is the gap closing effect in C1. You know how dagger units can like zoom towards the target by using C1? Joker actually has that too, but his attack range is slightly farther. Like when you play Cayenne as Joker in the player 1 slot, he can immediately C1 to Cayenne while the regular dagger has to move up a tiny bit. Also, when Cayenne is in the center of the map, Joker is able to C1 from the wall. If you try to do that with the regular dagger, then the indicator will just disappear because that's too far out of range. As for his Forcestrike, he draws his pistol and he shoots out a bullet at a decent range. The length is about the same as the bow's range. It fills a little bit of persona gauge and he can charge it up to 2 times. If you do the 2 charge, then the Forcestrike gets a dispelling effect. He probably has one of the best dispels in this game. It's unconditional and the Forcestrike charges and comes out pretty quick. The drawback of this Forcestrike in comparison to regular dagger is that he loses out on mobility. You know, with regular daggers, you can always use the Forcestrike as a way to reposition your character and just be more mobile in general. Joker obviously can't do that because he has to be stationary when he Force Strikes. Here's a tip: if you're in a situation when you're doing C6 and the target starts like walking away and your normal combo starts missing because Joker doesn't turn that fast while he's doing C6, then you should Forcestrike fail whatever combo that you're on and then use C1 to close the gap. That's going to be a quicker and more efficient way to reposition Joker than to cancel your ongoing normal attacks with a dodge roll. Now the optimal combo for Joker is just plain C6. Forcestrike failing any part of the combo doesn't seem to speed up any of his SP gains, so yeah, just tap constantly and use his Forcestrike whenever you need to dispel. Now all these persona characters are basically drag and drive characters. They don't use the dragon gauge, they have their own gauge. That does mean you can activate Joker's persona and then switch to one of your AI allies and activate their dragon as well. To fill up this gauge, Joker has to use his regular skill 1 and 2. They both generate 300 persona energy each, and I believe you gotta use 4 skills at minimum in order to activate his persona, assuming his gauge was at 0. Dragon Drive gauge is affected by Dragon Haste and Dragon Prep. Any other dragon abilities such as Dragon Claws, Dragon Damage, and whatever else do not work. You can use the transform as an iframe, but obviously you cannot dragon tank stuff because you're basically still in human form. A reminder that you can instantly turn off your Dragon Drive by clicking on the icon again, so make sure that you do that for moments when you aren't really taking advantage of the form to preserve some energy. His skills are actually pretty simple, even though the text on the Dragalia page is like hella long. Skill 1 costs 3120 SP, 2478% damage total, and gains 300 persona energy. When Arsene is out, then the damage is increased by 750%. It's the same animation for both versions. The enhanced version just has Arsene doing that one hit. The SP cost is pretty high for a dagger skill 1, but because this is Dark that we're talking about and they have attack speed Agito weapons, then it's actually not that bad. With taking that into account, as well as the fact that Joker gives 7% attack speed from his Coability, then the damage to SP cost ratio is actually good, especially the Arsene version. The animation for this is quite long, so make sure that you use it at the right time. I definitely recommend trying to use skill 1 during the long enemy attacks such as Cayenne Spin. Instead of having to dodge it, you can just iframe a large portion of it. Also, don't use it right before the foe starts moving. The skill starts with Joker shooting a bullet at the enemy, and that allows Joker to kind of home onto the target. Once he homes in, he just does the following attacks in front of him, so if the enemy is like moving around, then the rest of the attacks might miss. Skill 2 costs 5450 SP, 2728% mods, reduces strength by 15% for 20, and grants 300 persona energy. The Arsene variant deals 3030% and reduces strength by 20% for 20 seconds instead. Alright, so like I mentioned in my first impressions video, this is a huge strength debuff effect. Normally characters reduce its 5% for 10 seconds, or like Delphi reduces 15% for 15. Joker's is 15 or 20% for 20 seconds. This really helps a lot with damage mitigation in Legend Cayenne. It definitely was noticeable when I was testing out Joker in there the other day. I noticed that my AI wasn't getting one shot as often when Cayenne was in Berserk mode. You want to try and use the Arsene variant for this skill whenever you can, because not only does it deal more damage and inflict a bigger debuff, but it also has a faster animation. Arsene does a quick projectile instead of having to do like these multiple hits where Joker goes in the air and does whatever that he does. His Coability is 7% attack speed for the entire party. This is non-elemental locked, so you can use it on any element. Like I said in my other video, I don't think this is a slot in for everybody. I would only slot it in for support and healer characters because it's basically another form of skill haste. For example, it's a very good Coab for Grace. His chain Coability is 10 hits equals light res. These defensive chains are actually pretty decent for solos just for that small increase in survivability, but that's about it. His abilities, I pretty much covered most of it already somewhere in this video. His first ability just talks about his Persona Gauge and his unique Forcestrike. The rest of his abilities are Blind Res and 30 hits equals energy. So because Joker's an energy character, you want to be careful around bosses that can inflict paralysis, because if Joker gets afflicted by a status element, then he'll lose his energy stacks. If you decide to use Joker in Legend Cayenne, he basically has to dodge everything during phase 1 because pretty much all of his attacks will paralyze you. I usually don't mention AI in these videos, but Joker's AI actually kind of surprised me. It's pretty good. He's a C6 character and that's what the AI does. He uses skills and even activates Arsene on his own. The best thing about his AI is how fast it reacts to enemy buffs. Like if Cayenne grants himself a shield, then Joker AI will immediately Force Strike right away to try and dispel it. The only issue that I saw in the AI is that the AI tends to Force Strike a lot in Arsene mode, even when the enemy isn't in overdrive, which is kind of weird, but other than that, the AI is pretty solid. Now, how do you play Joker? He's very straightforward, a very mashy character. You just spam C6, use skills to raise his Persona Gauge, activate Arsene, and spam even more skills. Use his Force Strike charge level 2 to dispel any buffs. That's basically how you play him in a nutshell. Here's a few pointers to keep in mind when playing him. To quickly and efficiently reposition, use Force Strike Fail to cancel any normal attack animations, then use C1 to zoom towards the enemy. Deactivate Arsene whenever you're in a situation where you cannot take advantage of it to preserve some energy. Skill 1 is very laggy, so be careful when you're using it. You don't want to get caught by purples while performing it. Lastly, keep an eye out on the enemy's overdrive bar as well as a Persona Gauge. You want to make sure to have some gauge available in order to Arsene burst during the break. Now, how do you build Joker? Well, for the Prince, remember that this differs depending on the team comp, but I will always give him Dagger Skill Damage and Flurry Strength Prince. The situational ones are Strength Double Buff and Poison Punisher. You gotta use those prints when your team has multiple defense buffers and a Poison Enabler. The last slot is flexible. There's Frostbite Punisher if multiple people are running Xander or Karina Skillshare. Dagger Crit Rate is good as well. It's probably the best for the slot, honestly. Healing Double Buff and 4 DPS comps. The list goes on, it'll depend, but Dagger Crit Rate is generally good. For his dragon, I recommend Gauage. I did a near 6-minute Legend Cayenne solo with Gauage Joker and I ended with 5 stacks, so he should not have any issues with maintaining cat stacks. Arsene is a good alternative, so is Shinobi. If you do not have any of those 3 skill damage dragons, then you can use any strength dragon that you have. For his backline, I would always use Wand, Iyasu for strength and dragon haste, and then the last slot is flex. You can do Dagger for crit rate, Aldrich for more dragon haste, or Seimei and Mega Man for overdrive Punisher. The latter two are obviously more situational, it'll depend on the boss. Joker's pretty good, I like him a lot. I definitely do not think his DPS is on the same levels of Galax or Belina when optimally played, but I do believe he's somewhere up there. He's just a good DPS that doesn't have many requirements to meet, doesn't need to be enabled by somebody else. He's very simple and easy to use. When you play him, you're just constantly mashing buttons. Not only is he a great DPS, but he also brings extra tools such as an easy to use dispel. It's unconditional and is very consistent even when he's an AI. And speaking of his AI, that's great as well. So he'll be a great unit to have in the backline for many teams out there for solo content. Fantastic unit to use for Legend Cayenne too, both as a lead character and as an AI ally. I would say he will be used more for the solo fight rather than for co-op. Not saying he's not viable for co-op, because he certainly is. It's just that the meta comps are already set in stone. Pubs tend to have a hard time with accepting new characters, and plus, he's not going to be better than Belina. Lastly, and most important of all, Joker is very fun to use, and that's something that I value a lot in the dark element, because I personally find a lot of the dark characters to be pretty boring. And there you have it, that's my full review on Joker from the Persona 5 Strikers collab. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.